Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. God is one. God is beyond our imagination and beyond our ability to perceive through our mind and or our senses. He is without form. He is without parents. He is without children. He is without being born. He did not beget, and he is not begotten. He is a great mystery. And for many of us, this mystery is the most important thing that we need to study that is in our existence. This mystery is far beyond anything else that we see, hear, touch, or smell in this world. This mystery is at the essence of what it is we're trying to find out about in this world. And that's why we've entered this path. That's why we looked for a teacher. And that's why we have stayed with the teacher. I was talking with my wife Sunday, and she reminded me that it was on Easter Sunday 50 years ago that we met Bawa Muhaiyaddeen. So it was our 50th anniversary of entering the path. It was in 1972 in a little row house. The townhouses are like big attached homes. Row houses are very little attached homes where the working class lived. And Bawa's first residence in the United States was in one of these row houses. And that's where we met him 50 years ago. We learned so many different things from him. One of the things that we learned is this world is like a farm for us and everyone else. And there are many different things that are grown on this farm. And depending upon our inclination and on our intention, we grow certain crops. There are two major crops that are grown on this farm. One are the crops that are grown from the mind, and the other are the crops that are grown from wisdom. And it's also two different ways that people spend their life in this world. They either spend their life in their mind in connection to the illusions in this world and the worldly production that's all around us, and the worldly interactions that are all around us, and the worldly scenes that are all around us, or we attempt to understand that which is formless, and we attempt to understand that which is within us. So there is this external farming, which is the farming of the mind, and then there's this internal farming that goes on within each of us, where we try to discover the nature of our soul and the nature of truth, where we try to discover the nature of formlessness, where we try to transcend the world and understand what is beyond it. In this world, the mind deals with karma, Maya, illusion, lust, anger, all of the things that we see on the stage of the world, all of the interactions that we see on the stage of the world, all of the interactions that occur because of differences. My religion, your religion, my wife, your wife, my children, your children, my money, your money, my caste, your caste, my language, your language, my nationality, your nationality. Or we deal with the world of unity, which transcends all of these things, which is beyond all of these things, which works from a level of wisdom as opposed to a level of mind. And it's only when the mind is transcended that you can begin to understand wisdom and these other things. There was a monk who was sitting on the banks of a river, and a man came up to him. Man was a scientist, and he said to him, "What is the essence of your teaching?" And the monk sat there quietly and didn't move. The man assumed that the monk was hard of hearing because he was so old. And he said to him again, "What is the essence of your teaching?" Louder. And the monk began to laugh and laugh and laugh. And the man assumed once again that he was lost in thought somewhere and he couldn't hear him. So he asked a third time, this time really screaming, "What is the essence of your teaching?" And the monk took a stick and wrote in the sand, "Meditation." And then the man said to him, "That's not enough for me. I need a larger explanation." And the monk took the stick and wrote "meditation" again, but this time in capital letters. And the man still wasn't satisfied. And he said to the monk, he said, I'm a scientist. I need to understand the essence of your teaching. And the monk thought, well, I tried silence, that didn't break through. I tried laughing in joy, that didn't break through. I tried to tell him about meditation, that didn't break through. There's only one thing left. And he looked at him and he said, "No mind." Now, this level of no mind is something that a scientist isn't going to grasp. Not only isn't a scientist not going to grasp it, most people involved in religion aren't going to grasp it because they carry with them signs of their religion. They carry written texts with them of their religion. They carry things that are manifest, which proclaim and identify their religion. To say no mind, to say that there's something beyond mind, means that there's something beyond intellectual understanding that they need to grasp. And to grasp that which is beyond intellectual understanding takes a different form of seeing, a different form of knowing, and a different form of intention than mind intention, than intellectual intention. To form that kind of an intention, you have to have some idea of God's qualities. And you have to have some idea of his actions. And you have to have some idea of what those qualities and actions are like manifest in human form. And when you see them in human form, you can then begin to understand what they're like in the formless state. And this is one of the things that a true teacher, a true father, does for those who come before him. He shows you in manifest form, in human form, what God's qualities are like when they are present, what God's actions are like when they are present. And it's only when you understand that, you've seen that, you've interacted with that, you know that, you've lived with that, you've accepted that, then you can really, truly begin to understand the nature of Holy Scriptures and the nature of holy words. Without understanding the qualities and without understanding God's true mercy, God's true love, God's true indulgence towards his creation, God's constant compassion towards his creation, God's constant protection of his creation. Without understanding that and having a feel for that, one cannot truly understand the nature of our Creator, the nature of the Godhead who is supreme over everything, and or the nature of reality. We say La ilaha illallah. We do not exist, only God exists. Well, what is it that exists as God? And what is it that we understand about that existence? What is it that we know of that existence so that we can take what we know and incorporate it into our being so that we become like unto that? That experience essentially occurs in the presence of a true teacher, in the presence of a true man, in the presence of an insan kamil, one who has transcended mind and desire and all of the things that come with mind and desire, arrogance, karma, the I, the need to make the self bigger, the need for differences so that we can somehow stand out from our brethren and become more important than our brethren, that we can separate ourselves from everyone else and become more important, or at least find our own way without everyone else. There was a monastery that had a teacher who had become very famous. And because of his fame, people began coming to the monastery from all over. And the place became very busy and very crowded. And there was lots to do. There were more meals that need to be prepared. There were more people that need to be taken care of. There were more people that need to be housed. There were more lessons that had to be given. There was constant busy work going on. And this was quite a difference from what it was like before the teacher became so famous. So one of the students, one of the older students who had been there for a while, came up to the teacher and he said, "This place has truly changed. It's not quiet here anymore. I can't find any peace here. Can I be given leave to go into the mountains and find a place where I can be by myself, do my practices by myself, and be peaceful and make progress?" And the teacher looked at him and thought, and then he said to him, "Well, if that's what you want to do, you can go. But if you do this, you must follow two directions that I give you. The first, you cannot eat anything that has been harvested or prepared by anybody else. And two, you can't take clothes from anybody else. And the student thought for a minute, and he began to understand the import of what the teacher had told him. We are all dependent on each other to make our way in this world. And all of the new people who were coming were dependent on the teacher in the same way that he was dependent on the teacher. All of the people who were coming wanted the same things that he had wanted. All of the people who came had the same intentions that he had. And yet he was willing to dismiss all of them and run away. And then he began to understand that their hearts were his heart, that their pain was his pain, and that he had a responsibility to aid each and every one of them in the same way that the teacher had the responsibility to help and aid each and every one of them. And he understood that his place was to stay and become an assist to the needs of all of those people who came. And if we give up that place, if we give up that understanding of the unity of all of existence, we give up our understanding of reality, and we give up our understanding of truth, because we don't follow the edicts of the nature of our Creator. What if the Creator left us all on our own? Within an instant, everything would be destroyed. Everything would be finished, because all of our lives depend on his maintenance. All of our lives depend on his constant interaction with us, and his constant love for all of us, and his constant protection of all of us, his constant giving to all of us. And we need to begin to understand how that works. Now, we talk about the ocean of illusion and the ocean of ilm, or the ocean of knowledge, or the ocean of wisdom. And when you get to the ocean, if you take the first few steps into the ocean is throwing waves constantly at you. And these waves are the problems that we face in this world. We all have certain difficulties and certain dilemmas within this world. We have our stresses, we have our depressions, we have our needs, we have our desires, we have our unfulfilled ideas and imaginations, and all of these things bother us. And as long as we stay at the edge of the shore, they are constantly, as waves, come over us and over us and over us, and there's no end to them. And as soon as one set of dilemmas are resolved, a new set of dilemmas comes. And you'll also notice that at the edge of the shore are the little fish. But as you go deeper into the ocean gets calmer. And as you get to the mid-ocean, the ocean is essentially still. And it's the same with us. If we are in the mind, and if we rely on the mind to make our way through this world, we will constantly be beset by the waves of illusion. They're constantly going to come at us, and there is no end to them. There is no end to the difficulties and the differences and the illusory obstacles that we feel we face. One who understands not the sameness and unity of all the religions thinks there are differences within the religions. And if he thinks there are differences within the religions, all of the difficulties from those differences arise. For instance, the Crusades of the 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th centuries, because of differences in ideas about religions. It led men to war, it led men to dying, it led men to make all kinds of sacrifices on behalf of their own belief system, as opposed to being able to find peace in their own belief system without being at war with other belief systems. Somehow, this needs to be understood. For us to find peace, we have to leave the mind way of doing things and enter into the wise way of doing things. And what is the wise way of doing things? It is to understand the nature and qualities and actions of our Creator, as we have seen partially manifest within the qualities and the actions and the demeanor of our teacher, of our spiritual father, of the one who explains to us the truth. And as we learn about those qualities, we have a choice to make. And it's truly the only major choice we make in our lives. What is our path? Do we follow the path of the mind, or do we follow the path of wisdom? Do we follow the path of the illusory world and try to make our stand within illusion? Or do we understand the nature of illusion and leave the meanderings of the mind and enter into the realm of God's kingdom, which is the realm of wisdom? One leads to constant rebirth, and the other leads to merging with the truth. Now, for many, this is an easy choice. And the reality is that it depends on your perception. What do you see? Can you see through the nature of illusion and understand its temporary nature and the fact that what it gives you is ephemeral, not real? Can you understand the nature of the formless qualities of God and understand that in those formless qualities is where your true life exists? Or is the gold of the world more important than the formless qualities of reality? A sheikh had become very popular, and his dargah was now too small to handle all the people that were coming to visit him. So one of the rich men in town came and brought him a bag of 500 gold coins. And he gave him the bag, and he said, I've put together 500 gold coins, and I give it to you to assist you in expanding this place so you can do more good work. And the teacher said, I'll take it. And the man who gave the money didn't move. And the teacher looked at him, and he looked back at the teacher as if he were expecting something. And they sat there that way for a few minutes. And the teacher then finally said to him, are you expecting me to thank you? And the man said, yes, I gave you 500 gold coins. 3 are enough for a man to live for an entire year. This is an enormous amount of money, even for a rich man. This is an enormous amount of money. You should thank me. And the teacher said, the one who is allowed to give should be thankful. And this is the difference in perspective. This is the difference between living in the world of the mind and living in the world of wisdom. In the world of the mind, the act of giving the gold requires thanks. In the world of wisdom, the ability to assist a sheikh in doing his work is an enormous blessing that's been given to you by the Creator, and you need to be thankful for the opportunity to have this blessing. But the man who thinks from the mind can't see that. The man who thinks from wisdom can understand that. When Bawa was alive, every once in a while, he needed something. Like when he became ill, he needed a hospital bed so he could be raised and lowered. Well, we needed to raise money in order to do that. Bawa told us who was allowed to give money and who to take money from. In other words, he wouldn't take money from just anybody. You had to meet a certain standard of not being attached to what you were giving him in order for him to take it. If you were giving it to him with expectations or with some kind of possessiveness, he wasn't going to take it. And we have to understand that level of transcendence. We have to understand that level of reaching higher and higher and higher towards the truth. We have within us wisdom, and that wisdom will rise within us because wisdom is our natural state. But because of all of the things that have happened to us since we've been born, we've lost our natural state. So we need to reinvigorate our natural state. We need to re-intend our natural state. We have to concentrate and work at bringing about wisdom within us. Now, wisdom is innate. You can't create it. It's already been created. There's nothing that we can create. It's all already been created. But what we can do is we can intend and we can attempt to enter into that understanding. And how do we do that? We do that through letting go of all of the things that keep us from that understanding. And what are the things that keep us from that understanding? The mind, the desire, the sense of I, the sense of differences, the sense of self-importance, the sense of mine over yours, the sense of whatever I have is more important than what you have, and this entire idea of individuation as opposed to unity, this entire idea of self as opposed to unity, this entire idea of selfishness as opposed to generosity. Only when we begin to understand our obligation towards the rest of humanity can we begin to understand the truth of who we are. It is said that to know your Lord, you must know yourself. Well, who is the self? And we need to constantly remind ourselves of who we are. Who is the truth of us? Is it this shell of a being made up of the elements that is who we are? Or is it the ray of Allah that has been implanted in each and every single one of us that is who we are? So are we interested in nurturing this body and developing this body? Are we weightlifters? Are we beauticians? Are we hairdressers? Are we haberdashers? Or are we soul seekers? What are we? What is it that we want to become? What is our intention? And akin to the nature of our intention is what's going to blossom within us. This is a farm. We plant things in this farm of the earth. And these things are planted through intentions. If your intention is to become famous, then you're going to plant the intention of fame, and you're going to start doing the things that are required in order to become famous. If your intention is to become wealthy, you're going to plant the seed of intention, and you're going to do the things that will help you become wealthy. And or you will run into all of the frustrations that come when you can't become wealthy or you don't become wealthy, and all of the remorse that you have because you don't have enough money, or all of the remorse that you have because you don't have enough fame. And then when you have enough fame, you have all of the remorse because of the fame that you have and the difficulty of the maintaining the fame. Or if you get money, you run into the remorse that you have of all the money that you have, and what are you going to do with this money, and how are you going to protect this money? And it's that way up and down the line with everything that you intend that's in this world. It doesn't give you satisfaction. It just gives you difficulty. And as I've said often before, when you run into the difficulties and you already have a lot, Satan keeps whispering in your ear, the problem is you just need more, and you need more, and you need more. And there's no end to more. And the cycle keeps going, and you're like the hamster on the wheel, and you're just chasing. And when you catch it, you don't know what to do with it. So you just chase some more to get more. We need to leave this race and create new intentions. It is our intentions that are going to plant the seed of who we become. It is our intentions that are going to fertilize who we become. And our intention has to be pure. Our intention has to be to grow and understand our soul. Our intention has to be to understand that ray of God that is within us and what that is meant to become, what that is meant to do, and how that acts. And we can only do that if we learn to give up the self, if we learn to give up the mind, if we learn to stop thinking about ourselves and thinking about others, if we learn how to give, if we learn how to love, if we learn how to be merciful, if we learn how to be compassionate. Someone once said to me, people don't love me enough. And I said, it's probably because you're not very lovable. And that's the point. We can't look outside of ourselves. We have to look inside of ourselves. And all of the things that we want can be found in us. And then they'll radiate out of us. You can't love unless you have love within you. So you have to create love within you. You can't be compassionate unless you have compassion within you. So we have to create compassion within us. We have to create mercy within us. We have to create justice within us. We have to lose the mind that is attached to all of the things that are not attached to the truth. We have to lose desire that's attached to all of the illusory things within this world. And then we can be at peace with ourselves, at peace with the world, and content and grateful for the state of our existence, and we can become an aid to others. This, this is the path that we have to take on. There is no choice. The other choice is to be reborn over and over and over into the same difficulties, into the same disturbed quality of life that most of the world leads. If we want to enter into a place of peace and contentment, we have to go where peace and contentment exists. And it only exists with our Creator. So we have to go to our Creator. We have to give up this world for the world of reality. We have to see through illusion, transcend the qualities of illusion, and enter into reality. May that happen for each of us, and may it happen easily, and may it happen quickly. Ameen, ameen. Ya Rabbil Alameen. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah wa barakatuh.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.